Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Season 3, Episode 3.
Welcome back, friends. Today we are joined by our nicest smelling guest so far, co-owner of Smith & Co. Candles, Kenna Hoff.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Kenna? So in roughly a minute or less, can you tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do?
So my name's Kenna. I'm from Central Wisconsin, and I am a co-owner of Smith & Company Candles with my husband.
Okay, so I don't understand how candle making works. I don't know anything about it. I know me and you linked up to do a candle for the podcast.
Sure.
So you sponsor the show and we sell those candles and they're awesome. So shameless plug, they're $17.95 and they're sold at Passion Board Shop and at passionboardshop.com. But they say 100% soy on it. We picked a scent out. Can you tell me how you make a candle? If somebody just says, hey, Kenna, I want to make a candle and I want to do something that smells like, I don't know, pine trees.
Pine trees. Am I making this candle for them?
Yeah, you're going to make this candle. So what's the process of making it?
Sure. So we melt our soy wax down, and it comes in a flake form, and we melt it down, and it has to reach a certain temperature. And so everything's pretty temperature sensitive with the whole entire process. But after we melt it down, then we add our fragrance oil in. And in your case, we did make a custom scent, so it's just for you. But so after that, then we pour the candle, and it has to cool. And then we have to make sure that the wick is in the middle and everything like that. And then it has to cure for around 2 weeks before that you can burn it.
I know you gave me instructions when I got my candle, which I'm one of the many people that wouldn't have guessed you needed instructions for burning a candle, because you make the best candles that exist. In order to fully enjoy how awesome the Passionate Pursuit candle is, how does somebody correctly burn one of the candles, and why does it matter what you do?
So that's a really good question, and I feel like a lot of people don't know that. So actually, when you do burn, for sure, our soy candles, you have to let it burn for the entire length so that the entire top can melt. So that's called a full melt pool. And for ours, it's about an hour for every inch of the top that there is. So for ours, they're around 2 inches. So you have to let it burn for 2.5 hours. So that is really important, because if you don't do that, it can tunnel. And so with tunneling, you won't get the full entire scent throw that you would want. So that's number one. That's really important. And then number two, making sure that you are trimming your wicks to be a 1/4 inch. If you don't do that, it can cause soot. And if you've had a candle and it's gotten black on the top, that's called soot. So that's why you really want to make sure that you're trimming your wicks. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that.
I don't think hardly anyone does that.
No.
But if you're going to get a good candle versus a cheap Walmart candle, maybe take care of it well. So,
take care of it well, for sure.
I mean, everyone knows, I think, when they burn a good candle, you don't really have to burn it all day. It doesn't take a huge candle,
right,
and it makes the whole house smell awesome.
Yeah.
What is it that's different about your candles than if I just went and bought the cheap ones at Walmart? Because I again, this is being a novice of oh, that one says Winter Wonderland. That sounds great. I want to buy that. And then it doesn't smell like anything versus yours smells great. So what's the big difference, I guess?
Ours is made out of the soy wax. Or a lot of candles that you'll buy at Walmart are made out of paraffin wax. So the soy wax is just a lot more cleaner, natural burning. And then also ours, we don't use any dyes. You'll see candles that are colored, so they use dyes, and that's not great for you to be breathing in. And then as well as our fragrances are non-toxic.
Okay, so I guess you have to riddle me this, right?
Yeah.
I grew up skateboarding.
Okay.
Always wanted to be a professional skateboarder like every other little skateboard kid. Realized real quick that I wasn't that good at it at all, but I still really enjoyed it. And then I ended up working my way up through sales. That's what I started doing. And eventually got to the point where I was okay, I know how to run a store. It makes sense for me to sell the thing that I've been doing since I was little. So that was kind of the general trajectory of how I became a skate shop owner. How did you become involved in making candles? When did you start pouring them? Obviously you said your mom was doing it, but when did you really get involved with it?
Yeah, I was probably like, I think pretty much all the way growing up, I was helping her. I have like pictures of me and my little brother like pouring candles when we were younger. But I took a really prominent role when I was kind of like in high school, helping her behind the scenes with social media and stuff. But then I did end up going off to college and really didn't think I'd be making candles. But then I kind of took a step back and I wasn't really fully sure with what I was doing with my life. And I, had like a quarter life crisis. But yeah, so then my mom, she got sick. So then I kind of had to take a prominent role. Well, I didn't have to, but I definitely wanted to help her out and keep everything going. So then I kind of fully took over. I think it was in November of last year.
So pretty recently. And then did she have you buy into the business, or how is like the co-ownership role take at this point? Is she just kind of overseeing stuff? Do you do all of it? Like, where is that at?
Yeah, so right now I own a majority of it, but she definitely still has a say, and I always go to her for advice and help on what to do. But yeah.
Okay, so I know that Smith & Co. is like growing super fast, right? So you move up to this area and we somehow find each other on Instagram or something. And I was like, oh, these are cool. And we ended up making a candle together. And at the time, it seemed like you had some time to be able to then go make candles for people. Now, all of a sudden, it seems like you have no time and you're super busy. So where is the business at right now in its current spot?
In its current spot, we actually just started a partnership with Kwik Trip. Well, we will be. It is going to air on Monday. But so we're super busy trying to prepare and get ready for that. And it's going to be a limited edition scent that we're going to be running for them. So we're quite busy.
Is that going to still leave you in a place where you can do smaller runs for local businesses and stuff? Or like, I guess, what are you trying to do in the very immediate future with the business?
Yeah, so we actually just got a warehouse and working on upgrading a ton of equipment. So we're going to be able to pour like 1,000 candles a day. So we're going to be able to keep up with Kwik Trip and still be able to do local and smaller stuff too.
And that's going to be just you and your husband doing 1,000 candles a day?
Yeah, we actually just hired someone to help us out.
Okay, so now's the plug of like, this is a quickly growing business. And if you want to become a candle master, now's the time to contact you.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a little bit of a challenge for you.
Oh, geez.
It's not going to be super difficult, but I do have a little challenge for you. So you and I created that candle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been selling like crazy, crazy good. I came up to you with an idea of like, this is what I generally want it to smell like, right? And then all you needed really was a logo from me. You gave me a few different scents to smell, and I was like, dang, this is perfect. So you moved to Eau Claire not crazy long ago. Let's say that the Pablo Center reaches out, right? And they're like, we want to do Eau Claire everything, because that's what they're doing with everything. They want to commission you to make a candle specifically to represent Eau Claire. What is that going to smell like?
I feel like it should smell like beer. I feel like there's a lot of like breweries around here.
So we're going to do a beer smelling one. What's
Yeah.
the logo going to look like?
It's going to be just like a beer mug. Or just like Wisconsin.
I'm glad that's what Eau Claire looks like. That's perfect. Okay, so figuring out the scents, right? You obviously have to develop some sort of sense of smell that's maybe a little bit more like acute, I guess, just like how a chef has to like fix their palate. How did that work? And do you really have like a way better sense of smell than everyone else?
I feel like my husband is like the scent master. He's really good at making scents.
So where do you get all of the materials that you use to make the candles?
Yeah, so we get everything all local in the United States. That's super important to us. We definitely have a ton of suppliers, but we love that we stay local.
Okay, Kenna, so now that people know a little bit about you and they want to like follow what you do, what's the best way for them to follow and contact you?
So I have Facebook and Instagram, and that's Smith Co. Candles LLC. Otherwise, email is good too.
What's the email?
smithcocandlesllc@gmail.com.
Perfect. So it's just about as easy as mine. Okay, so I want to get into a little bit, like, I guess, the why choosing to do what you do. So I'll give like a brief little anecdote to kind of explain. Okay. So when we were kids, right, people always asked you what you wanted to be. And usually people say like sports stars and stuff, right? Or like ballerinas, like that's what I wanted to be. But at some point you start like having to think about what a real career is, right? So for me, it was in like middle school, I want to say. And we had to give presentations about like what this career is going to be and why. So mine at the time was I wanted to be a history teacher. Like that's what was in my mind. And at some point, obviously that changed, but I actually think a lot of the same like interests are there, right? The reason that I would want to be a history teacher is because I want to be a role model for kids and help bring them up. Because that's more like what the point of being a teacher is than the actual subject matter. And in a weird way, I'm kind of like a history teacher of skateboarding now for a living, because I'm that guy who's in the shop that's constantly telling them about like all these old pros and video parts and like, oh, this is why that graphic is this way. You should do this trick because this guy did it back in the day. And I want to educate them on that whole thing. So it kind of makes sense that I do what I do. What did you want to be when you were a kid? And how does that like kind of similar now to what you do?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this today. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. Like that was the first thing I can ever remember. Like
What kind of doctor?
I just wanted to help people. So, and I feel like I wanted to be like a pediatrician, like 98% sure. But so growing up, like I just wanted to be a doctor, and I didn't really think deeper into like why I wanted to be a doctor. And it was when I, got older, I realized that I actually just want to help people. So, I mean, it was really hard because I was like actually going to college to become a chiropractor. And then I ended up stopping, long story. So with candles now, we do fundraisers, and so we can help different causes like that. And a goal of mine is to eventually do like a candles for cause. And we did a fundraiser a while back where a little girl had passed away, and so we helped raise money for her family. So, and I think we raised like $3,000 for her. So that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, for one, I think you're spreading joy, right?
Yeah.
So the products that you make, literally all they do is make people happy.
Yeah.
Like there's not really any negative effects to it. And then I think what you're talking about with donating money, that's like one of the really sweet benefits about being a local business owner, is that you can help your local community in the very specific ways that you want to. Like people hit I'm sure they hit you up as well, but they hit me up all the time to donate for this, that, or whatever, constantly, which is fine. And anytime it's youth related, I'm pretty quick to donate something. But it's nice that I can actually focus and say, you know what I want to do? I want to focus on art, and then do a whole, thing just for like an art community or something. Like you have all this freedom to kind of do like whatever it is that you want to help your community, or, whoever you think that needs the help in the moment. When you own a small business like we do, it's really, really unique, right? Like what we do, none of our friends really fully understand, because what you do for a living isn't what hardly anyone else does. So it ends up bringing up kind of different challenges. One of them for me that I really didn't expect to be a unique challenge, or I just, maybe I didn't think about it a whole lot, was I found that for some reason, I have a hard time getting people to take me serious. And I think it's because what I sell is like a hobby type item. So a lot of people, usually a lot of times it's like extended family members or something, they think it's this like little hobby thing. And it doesn't really garner the same respect as if, like, say I owned a grocery store or something for whatever reason. And then when I tell people I have a podcast, like everyone and their brother has a podcast. So people, again, don't really take it seriously. And I'm like, no. This is every week on the radio. This is a very real show that I travel and I put a lot of energy into. And I own a local business and we do fundraisers, and it's established at this point. I didn't expect that to be a challenge, and it has been one that I've been able to overcome to a certain degree. What about for yourself? What's a challenge you didn't expect to be challenging for you that you faced?
I think it would, for the most part, be my age. I feel like people don't take me seriously either because I'm only 21. So I think that's definitely...
Ageism has been a problem.
Yeah.
Do you straight up tell people how old you are when you do business with them usually?
No.
Yeah, see, I had no idea that you were 21.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a problem. Although when I opened my business, I was 23 when I opened my store. And yeah, you get that a little bit, but I think people get inspired quickly when they see a young person working really hard. And maybe you don't want them to take a mentor type role or anything like that, but I think people are really quick to want to help when you are young, as long as you're eager and hardworking. So I think it does kind of help, like in some ways anyways. Okay, so working for yourself is awesome, right? I love like every minute of it. One of my favorite things about it is how much freedom I have with my time, with what I choose to do, what inventory I order. I can redisplay my store to look like, the jungle that it is just because I want to. I have all this freedom to just express myself and kind of do anything that I want. What has been, some of the more enjoyable parts for you about working for yourself?
I like that I love my job so much that it doesn't really feel like a job to me. I get up every day and I have so much excitement to get to our shop and work that it doesn't even feel like I'm actually working.
I feel that way a lot too with my work, that it's like my second bedroom almost when I go to my store and I'm like, I want to work on this little art project, or like ordering merchandise for me. I still get that little kid feeling of like Christmas Day when UPS arrives, and I get to do that every day. So it doesn't really feel like work, which ends up being a problem when it comes down to how little free time I end up having because of it. So it's kind of like a little bit of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was going to say.
Okay, so I ran some commercials for you on the show before, right?
Yeah.
It's because I felt like our views aligned well. I wanted to help you grow, which clearly, like, I didn't need to help you grow because you guys ended up growing incredibly quick anyways.
Oh, thanks to you.
But, well, probably partially thanks to me. I'll take the credit for it. So give me your quick little sales pitch in general of, like, why would people in Eau Claire want to buy your candles specifically? Why would stores want to carry them? Why would people want to work with you and support you?
We are a local business just like you guys. And so we take a lot of pride in the fact that we hand make all of our items from scratch and that they're non-toxic and safe for your family.
I was going to say the easiest way for me was the fact that I didn't expect I could make like a dozen candles of my own custom scent. Is that like something you do for everybody, or is that the homie hookup?
That's the homie hookup. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, so that's what's cool, right? Is you can go to, like, I think that's the biggest part about buying local is not because you're based locally necessarily. Like, that is great, obviously. But what it comes down to is building the relationships in the community behind it. And the fact that I can text you and say, hey, I want to do this. Like, I would like to get more candles by this general time frame. Or, like, I have an idea I'm going to run by you after we're not on the mic of what I want to do for Christmas. The fact that I'm talking to you one-on-one, I know who you are, you get that kind of personalized experience. And I think that's something that's really cool. And nobody else is offering, right?
Yeah.
Like, how cool is it that Volume 1, if they wanted, they could get a line of candles and only order like a dozen of each? They would for sure sell out. Like, absolutely, because of the quantity sizes. So I think, like, you can't sell yourself short on that, because that's like the coolest part, in my opinion. I'm sure you would love to have like all your orders come through at 10,000 items, but like the smaller ones locally, I think is something really, really cool that I'd love to see a whole lot more of.
Yeah, no, we've definitely been working on some other different projects too of customization. I think that's one of my favorite parts. Just being able to customize things.
Yeah, what you did show me earlier off the mic too, right? Like one of the other types of candles you're making.
Yeah, for sure.
Why don't you explain, like, the ones that I have in my store are like in mason jars and they look sick, but what are the different ones that you offer? Like, do you do different sizes and stuff, or?
Yeah, so we have the 16-ounce candle, which is our largest one, and then we have an 8-ounce one, and we're also, hopefully by the time this comes out, we're working on a higher end one with a wood wick too.
Okay, so by the time this comes out, the big news will come out, right?
Yeah.
That somehow you got this contract with Kwik Trip,
Yeah.
which is kind of mind-blowing and really impressive for being 21. How did that come to be? Like, what exactly is that? I'm going to go to Kwik Trip and buy a candle, but like, tell me about that whole thing.
Yeah, so growing up, my mom used to work at Kwik Trip, and my dad still does. He's been working there for almost 20, or I think by now it's probably 20 years. And then when my first job was also working at Kwik Trip. And then I met my husband. He actually worked at Kwik Trip too. So we're just a big Kwik Trip family. So Kwik Trip has always been like a really big part of my life. I decided one day to make a candle that smelled like a glazer donut. And I posted it on Facebook. And then Kwik Trip contacted us the next day and said that they had been actually looking for someone to make a glazer donut or candles for them for a while. So that's how we got started.
So what all is coming out with that? What was kind of the quantities? Are they going to be in every store?
Yeah, so they're going to be online on our website only right now. So they're going to basically just push people to our website to purchase. So we, on top of having to make them all, we're going to be shipping them out as well. And right now there's only a limited quantity of 5,000 for the first order.
Wow. I've been trying to tell this to my other business owner friends, because some people seem to understand, other people don't. social media is an incredibly powerful tool. It's insane. I mean, even like looking at this, right? Most of my guests I've ended up contacting through Instagram DMs and stuff. Like that's how I've lined up a lot of these things. And it's not just like the interaction of us sitting here and talking, but I've been able to do all these cool collabs and stuff. And I've been able to like pick up sponsors where I'm doing advertising for them and helping them out with different things. Social media is a really, really valuable tool. And I don't think you can like overstate that. The fact that you can post something and then all of a sudden make a whole contract with Kwik Trip over it. That type of thing is like always available, which is way too cool.
Right. We've been working on it for 4 months now.
Yeah, because when I first started talking to you, you were already working on that stuff. Okay, so one of the fun things about having your own business is that obviously, like we talked about, there's freedom to do literally anything. Obviously, like not everything is available to you immediately, right? Like I can't just open up a second shop in London if I wanted to. That's like not very realistic. But what is something that you really want to do with your business that just hasn't happened yet, maybe would happen in the future, but in general, you really want to make it happen?
So I really, really want to make an actual storefront for us. Right now we just have a warehouse, but I want to turn the front of it into an actual store where you can come in, smell the candles, maybe buy some home decor.
Oh, so you want it to be both. You want it to be like a showroom in the front, but then still have the factory type thing in the back.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah, because you could
and like
do
a little
it.
window that you could see.
Yeah, so kind of like a tap room for a brewery or something, huh?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
That would be really rad. Let's see. What do I want to do with my business? Well, I've said before, I want to just travel all the time. So like that would be fantastic. I want to with the podcast, let's say, because this is real. I want to so bad. I want to make it so that way I can start traveling much more, significantly part of the year and just be interviewing people all the time when I have people run my store. I want to get a sweet camper van with a recording studio in it and then line up interviews and road trip all over the place and make everybody sound awesome.
That would be awesome.
That would be the best. So everything's been going like incredibly fast for you, which I kind of felt like it went fast for me when I opened my business, but not nearly in the same way that yours has. It's grown super, super quick. Like, I guess, where are things going? Like, where were they a couple months ago versus now? And like, what can people really expect with what's going to happen?
So probably around 8 months ago, we were pretty local to my hometown in central Wisconsin. But yeah, like you said, now we're growing. And I'm hopeful that with Kwik Trip up on the rise, that we'll continue to work with them a little bit. So yeah, once the Kwik Trip thing is up and going, we're hoping to do wholesale shows, work with more local businesses like you, and hire some more employees to help us out. And then I'm, like I mentioned, definitely wanting to open up our store, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year.
Do you think you'd do that like downtown, or where do you think you would try to do something like that?
I think I might want it in the front of our warehouse, like we talked about, so it could be, like you could see us working, but I think it would maybe two.
That would be cool, especially because you could probably, could you imagine like talking to the schools and stuff and having a class of kids or something come through and then doing like a whole tour of this candle factory and the store and stuff? I feel like that would be right up your alley for what you would want to be doing.
Yeah.
And that would be so cool to offer something like that in Eau Claire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really want to do like DIY candle classes too. I thought that would be kind of fun. I don't think that's obviously offered here at all.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
So would you have would you set it up as like a workshop thing where it's like, say, a dozen people pay $20 or whatever to come in and then everyone just makes them together?
Yeah, I thought that would be kind of cool to like make your own scent and have like a little wine and candle night.
Well, I think that would make sense, right? Because you look at places like Cheers Pablo and it's like wine and painting or whatever. And there was a tie-dye shop like briefly in town where it was a similar thing like that. I think people more and more now want to find some other activity that isn't exclusively just going to the bar or watching a movie. Like they want to start working with their hands a little bit. And I think that would be something really cool for Eau Claire and would probably align really well with somewhere like the Pablo Center or something too. They've reached out about doing different things. And I think once this whole pandemic mellows out a little bit and everyone's able to like get back to doing what we're doing, we all of a sudden have a really cool asset like the Pablo Center. And I know I keep plugging them. They're not the only ones, but all of a sudden we have a place like that for us to use that never really existed and kind of opens up a lot of really cool opportunities for Eau Claire.
Yeah, for sure. I went down there the other day and I was like, wow, this is beautiful down there.
Yeah,
it's super cool.
I really want to do live episodes of the show there.
That would be so cool.
I think it'd be really cool, like with a lot of the different guests. I have a lot of different guests lined up that I'm pretty excited about coming up. So one of the challenges I face with my show is I never really know how episodes are going to go, because typically when I'm picking guests, they're just somebody that piqued my interest and I reached out, and if they said, cool, yeah, let's line it up and let's make this work. Well, since I'm not typically interviewing sports stars, there's not like a whole lot to go off of. It's not like I can search your name and then learn everything about you and then prepare like, okay, this is what I need to ask for this interview.
Right.
I have to kind of line it up. So my process is I come up with my general list of questions in the order. This is what I think I'm going to ask, but I have an idea in my mind, like this is what I want to get across with this guest. This is kind of like the story that like I want to happen, right? It's kind of scary though going into it, because I never really know how it's going to work out. I feel like that's got to be how it is with everybody with a business, right?
Yeah.
How did you when did you just start working for yourself exclusively? Because if you're 21, there's no way you were like fully self-employed for that long before this.
Yeah. I worked at Smiles in Motion, pediatric dental office, for almost a year by the time I quit. But I quit in January, and it was really scary. You know, the unknown, not knowing how this is all going to go. But I'm very glad I did. But I think it was November to January, I worked, 12 hours a day at my actual job. And then I would come home and work 4 to 5 hours more. And it was just getting really, really exhausting. So I kind of just had to make the decision that, I have to either go for this all in or, keep doing what I'm doing and getting burned out. So I made the decision to go all in and haven't looked back since.
I have a specific, unique respect for other entrepreneurs. That it's not that I don't respect other people, I do, but for entrepreneurs in particular, I have a very different respect for them, because I understand where that comes from. Because I own a skateboard shop, right? I worked for Verizon before. I made a pretty good amount of money when I was 22, 23 years old, and then I decided to walk away from that to sell toys to people. And a lot of people kind of questioned it. I really didn't have a whole lot of people that were like, oh yeah, that's what you should be doing. I totally believe that that's going to work out.
Yeah, for sure.
You ultimately have to believe in yourself that it's going to work. One thing that I think is really key for things to work out though, is I recognized it later. I thought I was totally on my own when I opened my business, and that's not true. All the other business owners are in the same boat and want to help you, because if you do better, they're going to be doing better. So you're not on your own. The key is to be asking questions from the right people. If you ask your friends and family around you, what do you think? Should I do this with this business, whatever? They don't really have a great perspective on it. They're not really the right person to be talking to. But I would encourage anyone that has an idea, I want to do this business, I'm scared, but I'm thinking about it. Go talk to another business owner about it, and you can probably get some really great perspective and actually figure out whether or not this thing's going to work. But ultimately, it's going to be a risk. There isn't a fail safe. If it was fail safe, somebody'd be doing it already.
Right.
You have to believe and just take that risk. But what's the consequence? What would have been the huge consequence, right? You stopped working where you worked, do this.
Yeah.
You probably could have gone back to doing that.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out, it's not like you invested $50,000 immediately. I always explain that to a lot of people too. Even if you do choose to do something like that, you're not probably going to be in more debt than you would have a year of college. It
Right.
doesn't set you back that much. It's just kind of scary to do.
That's exactly what I thought of. When I made the decision, I'm like, I mean, a lot of people are like, what's the worst thing, that can happen? But, what's the best thing that can happen? Why don't we switch our mindset into thinking more positively about it?
Yeah,
I feel like
absolutely.
you can't make things happen unless you create it in your own head first.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I ask this question every episode. And the question is, when you're doing something, especially for a career, when you're pursuing something you're really passionate about, you don't really get excited about the same things that everybody else does with their careers, because it's you don't get a raise, right? Maybe you all of a sudden get a contract with Kwik Trip, which, essentially is kind of a raise.
Yeah.
But that's not really what is exciting about doing it. It's other things that happen that are really exciting. Can you share a story about something that you're really thankful happened, but only happened because you're choosing to pursue this candle making business?
I think I would say pretty much all of everything.
Sure.
I feel like I've built so many relationships with our customers and met so many cool people like you that I definitely would not have met before this. And like I said, having a job that I go to every day that I absolutely love.
That's awesome. I mean, I definitely feel the same way. I think you get to meet a lot of different people. And the cool part is it's not just about like finances, right? Like when you work for a company, typically it's, you get a commission based off the sale or whatever, and it's all focused around the numbers. And there isn't really a whole lot of like personal interaction that means anything beyond the surface, which is really unfortunate, versus like with what we do, especially with like the guests on the show. I mean, shit, like I've like grown my friend group so significantly, and I hang out with a lot of these guests outside of this one interview. We're just friends now because like we trust each other, we like being around each other, and then when opportunities, like different business opportunities arise, it's like I know who I want to work with on this project. I want to work with Kenna. I want to work with Lexi, or like whoever the guest is. So I think that's a really, really cool part of it. For me, I did something fun just yesterday, so I'll share that one, right? So we're recording this right now at the end of May. Everyone just reopened. The Wisconsin Supreme Court just ruled that basically like the gates are open, everyone can be open. Right. So I opened a couple weeks ago. And once they decided to open up bars and the mall and stuff, it kind of made me realize like I really need to enforce wearing masks. So at my store right now, it's required to wear a mask. I have them available for people. I spray hand sanitizer on people's hands just to keep everyone safe. Hopefully I'm being obnoxiously cautious, but I'm doing that, right? Well, so I ordered these masks as blanks because I wanted to make cool ones. I wanted to have them printed to say like passion and do like some little artwork on them or something. And I screwed up and I ordered in white when I really wanted them in black. It's kind of a blessing in disguise. It's fine. I decided, well, I want to just draw on one with a Sharpie. So I drew on one with a Sharpie and I drew like these like goofy little teeth and stuff on it, right? To like make it look like a little monster face. And I put it on, and on the shop's Instagram, I posted saying like masks are required at the store, from now on, just to protect everybody and whatever. Well, then I was getting DM after DM saying like, dude, where can I get one of those masks? And I was like, I could make some, I suppose. So I went to Joann Fabrics. Took forever because they're doing 5 people in the store at the moment, which is fine. But it was seriously like an hour-long trip to buy fabric markers. And then I spent like the whole evening and the next morning drawing on these little face masks. And I sold all of the ones that I made immediately. Every customer that came in the store wanted one. And now I'm backed up and have to do a whole bunch more. I never once thought, like, when I was a kid, if I would be like, what was I going to be doing I guess I got to say 15 years now that I'm 30. But what would I have, if I had thought that was what I was going to be doing? Like, no, I didn't think I was going to be drawing monster faces on masks for people to wear all over town that say passion. But apparently that's what I was doing with my job yesterday. And I'm super duper excited about it.
I saw that. I really want one.
See, I can make you one. I'm going to make you one. This is a hard one. You probably thought about it. Maybe you thought about it. I like to end every episode with a piece of advice that you've learned through your whole journey of entrepreneurship, even though it seems short, but a whirlwind. Can you share a piece of advice for all of our listeners?
Yes, I can. I have been thinking about this.
See, I ran out of them because now I'm on like 30, almost 30 episodes or something that I've recorded, and I don't really have a lot of great advice at this point.
I love it.
No more gems. So why don't you share a piece of advice?
Sure. So I think my advice is that doubt kills more dreams than failure ever could. I've been telling myself, I know this is crazy, but I've been telling myself for like the last 6 months that I'm gonna be like a 6-figure like business owner. And I feel like everything's been aligning for me because I believed in myself. So that's my advice.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. I think the biggest reason people aren't successful with their businesses is because they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do, because they don't believe it's going to work. And because they don't have anybody standing behind them, telling them this is going to work. You're kind of paving the way for yourself. But yeah, if you believe in yourself, number one, then others are going to want to follow suit. You're not going to make it if you don't believe in yourself first.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.